Just walking out of the town of Searchlight now, starting a 3-day walk to Bullhead City for Section 5. So Searchlight was probably one of my least favorite town stops of all time. I guess the good news is it motivated me to not take a zero, hurry up and get my town chores done, get out of town as quick as possible. It's a really high crime area, really dirty. The motels are basically the same way, and you know, a couple shady characters out in the parking lot. You know, apparently they were the ones running the place. It's a cash only deal, no credit cards. Oh man, the room, there was no doorknob for the door. It's only a deadbolt, and then there's like a little handle that you have to, you know, open and close the door with. Let's see, the mattress was we'll say a full-size mattress on a twin-size box spring, so overlapped it, and it's just, you know, if you sit on the edge, it just kind of, you know, flops over. There's somebody screaming outside like constantly, but I'll never forget the sound of this guy's voice. It was the most frantic, shrill voice I've ever heard, and he just kept saying, "I'm gonna kill you! I'm gonna f***ing kill you!" Needless to say, I'm glad to be getting out of Searchlight, and I hope to never go back there again. All right, down there is the Colorado River. There's actually a dam down there, the Davis Dam. This impoundment on the Colorado River is called Lake Mojave. And now that I'm out of this canyon, it's the Nellis Wash Wilderness in between here and the water down there. But I have to cut across this way to the south. You know, in this little saddle here, you can see those peaks in the distance. That's Spirit Mountain, that's where I'm headed. That's pretty much going to be the highlight of this section. Right, time to leave the wash I've been walking. And now, oh wow. Okay, now the scenery has gotten a lot better. Quite like that. But yeah, now the challenge is different because the washes, they're all leading towards the lake, you know. So now I got to go up and over a series of undulations to kind of reach the mountains there. None of them are very big, and none of them are very deep and steep, you know. So it shouldn't be too big of a deal, but it's definitely not like just walking an easy wash, you know. So I'm thinking back to about 4 years ago when I was trying to make up my mind whether or not I should through hike the Continental Divide Trail, which meant drastically altering my life, you know, quitting my job, selling my house, splitting up with the woman I was dating at the time. And one thing that weighed heavily on my mind was just one question, and that was, you know, what's the greatest thing you've ever done in your life? I didn't have an answer to that question, and it really scared me at the time, you know. I think it would be a shame to go through life without just having, you know, one thing you can point to and say, this was the best thing I ever did with my life, the greatest adventure I had, or even better, a whole series of adventures. You have so many that you can't choose. So I think that was the one thing that kind of really tipped the scales for me and made me go down the path that I've been following for the last couple years. So when I'm hiking through areas like this that maybe aren't the most scenic, the most interesting, not the highlight of the trip, I try and remind myself not only of the larger goal of what I'm doing on this trip, but just the fact that, you know, this is one of the biggest things I'll ever do in my life. You know, I did the Basin and Range Trail last year, the CDT in 2018. So if my life ended tomorrow, this would be in the top 3, you know. And when you think of it like that, it kind of gives you chills. You just stop and really appreciate where you're at, even if it's not the most scenic. So even though the tread is pretty much shot on these shoes, I'm going to try and get another section out of them. Got my new ones here, but the terrain in this section, besides Spirit Mountain, really doesn't look all that difficult. So I think I'm going to get away with at least one more section out of these shoes. And since I've only got, boy, a little over 200 miles on them, I think it makes sense. One thing I've always kind of found fascinating is, you know, walking through a huge desert valley with a distant mountain on the horizon, and then approaching it, you know, and then as you get closer and closer, it gets bigger and bigger. Like you see Spirit Mountain here, and it's just pretty much dominates the horizon now at this point. And if it didn't look imposing from far away, it sure does now. After a couple hours off trail, I finally hit this road. And I think I'm going to be on a series of roads for a little while, so I cover even more miles. Today's already been a pretty big mile day. Some of these roads are just so deep with sand and gravel. It's actually easier just to walk off trail like I'm doing now, parallel to the road. It's much more solid. Man, that is such a cool looking mountain. I'll be up on the top of that tomorrow. So I've just reached this area marked on the map. It says Camp Thurman, potential mine. Never seen a map say anything about a potential mine. But this was a lead and silver mine at one point. You can see some tailings over there. I'm gonna check that out. And it says camp, you know, so I was kind of expecting maybe an old mining cabin or something at the very least. Another mine shaft. It's blocked off. There's another one there, it's blocked off, so yep, another one here. Really just not much here. It's a big pile of old tailings. This stuff's probably heavily picked over. Yeah, there's all sorts of shafts and stuff. So tonight's camp, right next to the pile of tailings at Camp Thurman, a potential mine. I did find this one open shaft, which is a bit bizarre considering, you know, they blocked this one off, and then 10 feet away, you've got this one that's just wide open. So I found this one here, there's a lot of green in it. This is probably malachite, and that means there's probably some sort of copper in this one. And here's some more green, more malachite, which means more copper, which is often found with lead or galena.